and other modern bootleg comic books. So has this ever happened to you? You're asleep, you're dreaming, you have dreams about different things. I used to have dreams all the time about going into a comic book shop and going through the back issues and like finding these impossible comic books that shouldn't exist. Like, oh, here's Batman in an issue of the Fantastic Four, or here's Spider-Man crossing over with Supergirl or something. I used to have dreams about that all the time, thinking it's like, oh, that'd be interesting if such things really existed, like these intercompany crossovers that just weren't official and just, you know, they were never, you know, advertised or publicized. And I thought that was a dream, but it turns out there are such things. So Japanese doujinshi. Doujinshi is, they're manga, they're produced by fans. They're usually about their favorite anime, manga, American comic books, TV shows, or movies. And in Japan, they have thousands of doujinshi Comic-Cons every year. And the biggest one is Tokyo's Comic Cats. And that brings in like 35,000 vendors, and most of them are fans to the Comic-Con, and like over 500,000 fans come to their biannual events. So, the next slide. So here's a couple of examples. These are taken from, from the Watchmen. This is Rorschach fan books, like these just fans that like, hey, I want to do my own Rorschach, my own Watchmen stories. So here's a couple of examples that they've done in Japan for a Comic Kit. This one's really cool too. It's an art book, and it's all mostly Marvel comic book characters. I think there's a couple of DC ones in here as well. But this one was done by Hiroyuki Imaishi, excuse me. He's a Gainax animator in Japan, and he's the founder of Studio Trigger, but he's also a huge fan of Marvel Comics, American comic books. So Imaishi, he's director of such projects as Promare, Dead Leaves, Tengen Toppaguran, Leigan, probably the most famous one is Kill la Kill, and Cyberpunk Edge Runners. So he's a professional animator, like he's huge in Japan, but he also does doujinshi on the side because he's just a fan. That's what the fans do over there. So here's a couple of, I'll show, one ahead, I'm sorry. So anyway, that's the stuff I was just reading. And here's an example of like some of his artwork. Here's the thing from the Fantastic Four. It's really cool. The Japanese eye, it's so intriguing the way that they present power and just composition. Their stuff is absolutely amazing. I really love it. Here's another example of Iron Man the Hulkbuster too. So much power in that image. I think it's awesome. And this is another one that I just find, I'm so obsessed with this one. So this one's called Deadpool Baker's Dozen. And so somebody did a doujinshi of Deadpool and like all these other Marvel Comics characters. And who is that over there?
Rorschach.
That's Rorschach, yes, from DC Comics. An intercompany crossover that like nobody knew existed except it does in Japan. And I was hoping to have this in time for the presentation. When I found this, I wanted it so badly. But I don't speak Japanese, I can't read it. After some exhaustive internet sleuthing, I was actually able to find a copy. And I ordered it. And I was worried it wasn't going to come in because it's all in Japanese. And I put my credit card number in there. It's like, okay, I hope that amount again is going to convert. It actually turned out to be like $10. Like the book itself was like $5. They took a $5 commission. And I was worried they weren't going to send it to me because I was like, I don't see anything out here for shipping. I wrote to their their support, and they're like, oh, well, that's because we have like a free shipping thing this month. I was like, oh, thank God. So it's on its way. I wish I could have shared it with you today, but yeah, I was totally just obsessed with that when I first saw it. And Ben Dunn from Antarctic Press, he's actually done shown some stuff, some of the doujinshi, like, he's He's originally from Taiwan. He grew up in San Antonio, but he's really into anime and manga. And so he did a couple of things. He did this one comic book. It's kind of a magazine called Justice, and it kind of focused on a lot of Japanese doujinshi that they did in Japan. I wish I could show you the entire thing. It's really cool. There's like kind of the same thing. There's like a bunch of like Marvel DC crossovers and stuff, and just other Japanese fanzine type stuff. And then he put out another one called Doujinshi, and it's a world of Japanese fanzines, and that one was really cool too. He published it in the original Japanese and then did like English subtitles like on the bottom of the panels. It's actually really neat. This one did get quashed because like he was doing a lot of Japanese doujinshi, like mangas from Japan, that we weren't, like a lot of people didn't see over here. Nobody had like the rights to them. And so they're like, okay, well, if they're publishing in the US, who cares? Until they got to Transformers. Marvel pays a lot of money to license from, I think it's Mattel, for the Transformers, and they saw this come out, and they're like, oh, okay, time out. They sent them a cease and desist. It's like, we can't be paying all this money, and then you're putting out your own Transformers books. Another one that came out in 1997, now we're switching over to the American ones. This is one that came out in 1997 for Cooper Skeeter? Skeeter? Yeah, thank you, Skeeter. And this was kind of a joke one that a bunch of like independent comic book creators did to kind of like mock this. Nobody probably remembers this. Like around this time, like in 1996, like after Christmas, Marvel Comics actually declared bankruptcy. They were in really bad, dire straits. And they were like, hey, we're going to do a benefit issue. We're going to make all the money we make off of this. They maybe printed 500 or something, but all the money we made off of this, we're going to donate to Marvel. They didn't really. That was a joke. And I have some notes on this too. Oops. Oh, that's right. So it was published by Hightower Books out of Massachusetts by Tom Devlin. I told you about the bankruptcy already. There was even, like during the time of the bankruptcy, there was rumors that Michael Jackson wants to buy, this is no joke, this was real, he was planning to buy Marvel Comics because he wanted to star as Spider-Man in a Spider-Man movie. Does anyone remember that? That was a thing.
New Editions of the Spider-Verse.
What's that?
New Editions of the Spider-Verse.
Right? The worst iteration of the Spider-Verse ever. And so one of the creators, Joe Chiapetta, was secretly giving out copies at the 1997 Comic-Con. He actually even gave one to the guys like manning the Marvel booth. They thought it was cool. They're like, okay, well, we'll show this to our lawyers. They don't care. They don't care because it's just a small print run thing, and they thought it was funny. And then the cover was done by Seth, very famous independent artist. And then one of the stories that was featured in Cooper Skeeter was this Hulk story. It's called Hulk versus the Rain. And it was by James Kolchaka. I don't know, do you guys remember him? He did like a few years ago, he did Peanut Butter and Jeremy, and it got like very famous because it was one of the offerings for Free Comic Book Day. He's a really great cartoonist. But anyway, so that was in Cooper Skeeter, and later it was reprinted in the Incredible Hulk annual number 2001. It's like a backup story. They thought it was so cool, they colored it, and like, we're gonna print it in our book too. And then we come to Ulysses Fariñas. This is the very first one that I had ever seen personally. I had never seen, or even knew that anyone was doing any bootleg comic books like this, but like, it was at the very first Library Comic Con. Back then, it was the Boise Comic Arts Festival. It was called the Boise Public Library Comic Con. I was going through my own business, having a great time. And I saw this, I was like, oh my God, this guy has like a bootleg Batman comic book that he did himself. And he's a brilliant artist, he's so good. I hope you can see that image really good. It's like, he reminds me of like Jeff Darrow, like with like so much detail in his art. It's really cool. And it was like an interesting story where like, all the villains in Batman were getting too powerful for him. He was just a guy in a bat suit, and like these guys are coming in with like big robots, like Iron Man suits, or turning into monsters. And so like he was like, he's going through this existential thing where he's like, well, maybe I'm gonna have to sell my soul to the devil or something to be able to combat all these guys. His art's amazing, very cool. yeah, that was a revelation for me because I didn't know that anyone could do that. Another one that came out here recently was called Spideyzine.
I've seen
But
this.
have you seen? Yeah, it's
Yeah.
brilliant. Yeah, if you see them, go take a picture of this. Do a search later. You can find some of these stories online. They're brilliant. They're the kind of the quiet moments between all the action, and the stories have a lot of heart. They're really, really good. So here's Spider-Man. Like this girl's like walking through New York City, and these guys start hassling her. And like she asks Spider-Man to like walk her home because she's like, well, do you want to take care of these guys? It's like, no, I just would really rather just got walked home because, you know, and so he's like, okay, yeah, I'll walk you home, that's fine. So he's helping her out, and he's like, as they're walking along, he's like, hey, have you ever seen Cowboy Bebop? And so he's like telling her like the whole thing. he's telling her like the whole story, explaining it to her, and she's like, okay, whatever, Spider-Man. He's like, okay, that's what happened in the first episode. Now here's the second episode. They're riding the subway home, and so I thought it was really, really well done. He was like, he took her home, and as he was going back home, he's like, okay, here's some people that are doing an actual robbery or whatever, and so he puts in his headphones, and he's like, I'm gonna hit that Cowboy Bebop theme song.
Yeah.
Are you there?
Hell yeah.
I think I read this before I had seen Cowboy Bebop. Wow.
Can you hear it?
A little bit.
So I can just hear that in his head as he just like hit it on the
Yeah.
That's a boss song. That song slaps.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So I thought it was really cool how she kind of like integrated both with the manga and with the American comic book vibe. And it was like so popular, so well received. I wish I could have gotten a copy. It's all online now, just the ones that do survive. But she was able to, she actually got some paid gigs for Marvel Comics, like with her stuff. She did one for like an Amazing Spider-Man annual and one for at least, and for Spider-Gwen. And I think she did some stuff for like Squirrel Girl as well, if I remember correctly. So somebody else copied her after that. So she did Spideyzine, that was the one that hers was called. And then somebody else came out with one called a Spider-Man PS4 fanzine, Spiderzine. And that was out and gone before you know it too. The rumor was there was a couple of Marvel interns that did it, and Marvel wasn't too happy about it. So they were like, okay, we'll shut that down. We're not gonna, press our luck, I guess. Another one, and I have an example of it right here. This artist, Josh Simmons, did a bunch of Batman doujinshis, like fanzines. And they're all really cool. He did a bunch of them, so that this first image is the first one that he did. This is one of the ones that he did. This is one of the last ones that he did. Until they were all combined into a big trade paperback called Dream of the Bat. So he did a bunch of those. They were all very good, very interesting, very weird, very indie. This other one was from by Michael DeForge. It's Peter's Muscle. But this is the French version. This is like Le Muscle de Peter. So it originally came out for the 2010 Toronto Comic Arts Festival. There is an English version. I wanted to get that one. I couldn't find it, but I was able to get the one that they printed in Quebec. So this is like the French indie Spider-Man comic book that they did. Oops. This other one is really cool too. This one's by David Enos. This came out in 2016. Another very cool one. It's beautiful. It's all hand painted inside, and it's just really crazy. Kind of a weird alt reality version of Batman where he's married to this woman. She disappears, and he's trying to figure out what's going on, but he's having mental problems too. And it's got like cameos by Captain America and Superman, the Fantastic Four, a bunch of other heroes are in there. It's very, very interesting. For our purposes today, we'll call this Crappy Dark Knight. This one is really cool. It's a frame-by-frame recreation of the issues 1 through 4 of Frank Miller's The Dark Knight Returns. It's cool. It is a formless exercise in analyzing the language of comics. So the goal was they got all of these different independent comic book writers, indie guys, and artists, these are all artists. And they copied exactly what Frank Miller did to see, as a kind of an experiment, does that language, does the message still translate, even if you're not doing like a great job, you're not, it's not painted by Vin Varley like the original one was. And I think it does. I think it translates very well. And it was also, so there's a bunch of really famous artists that take part in that experiment too, including Jim Rugg, Alex Zurek. He was at the Comic-Con here, like in 2003. Remember the con at the zoo where it was raining? He was there for that one. And then Jim Mafood. Very cool. Actually, I have that one too. I should show that to you. And then this one is from a comic book publisher called, here's the, pretend you don't see the cover, but like that's Crappy Dark Knight. This one's from Superhero Comics. This is from Mike Keene, and he did Bootleg Spider-Man in 2022, and then in 2023 he did Bootleg Spider-Man number 2. I present evidence of the books. They're really cool. And this one guest stars Batman and Alfred and the Joker and Harley Quinn. Very cool stuff. Very indie, very alt. This is another very interesting one. This one's from Heat Presents. It's a publisher out of Michigan, and this was to commemorate the wedding of like a couple of cosplayers that do like a lot of charity work. And so yeah, it was really cool. And like, so she always cosplayed Wonder Woman, he always cosplayed Batman. And it's got like really great cartoons in it, and it also features work from William Messner Loebs. I don't know if you guys remember who he is. He did like a lot of stuff for Artwork Fanheim. He did Journey, like he created Wolverine McAllister, the frontiersman of like 1810 Michigan. He wrote The Flash. He had a really great run on The Flash. He wrote Wonder Woman. He wrote Johnny Quest. He did a lot of really cool stuff. Let's see, and then another one coming from Domino Books. This one's called Bonding. So this is a story, it's kind of a story of Spider-Man and Venom. And then it has like 2 other backup stories, the backup Spider-Man stories in that as well. Let's see, one by Shaheen Grixley and then one by Miles McPherman. And then Grixley Comics. I don't know if you guys, does anyone follow Nate McDonough online? He does this really good comic strip called Long Boxes. And it's interesting, it's kind of an autobiographical one where he goes around different parts of the country and he like goes through like back issues of like all these stores and stuff, and he picks out like all these key issues that he can sell for like more money online. But anyway, he did Spider-Man, The Amazing Spider-Man, 1026. And I hope Marvel Comics doesn't get up to that number, because how embarrassing would that be if there's 2 Amazing Spider-Mans, 1026. This one is very interesting too. This is kind of a long story. This was published in Mexico. There was a comic book creator in Mexico, his name was Balthazar Cardenas, and he always organized a free comic book day in Monterrey, Nuevo León in Mexico. And one year he wrote to Writer's House, which is a literary agency in New York City, and he's like, hey, I want to do a comic book based on like one of the poems from one of your authors. And the author was Neil Gaiman. And so this book, this poem, it started out as a poem, Watching from the Shadows, was written by Neil Gaiman, and it was included in this book, a 420-page hardback from DC Comics. And it appeared only as like a text piece. It was just a poem. It was never sent to sequential art until Balthazar put it to art. It's really cool. Even though it was published in Mexico, it was done in the original English, and only 100 copies were printed, and I have 2 copies. Yeah, they're really cool. So, I mean, it's kind of a bootleg, but kind of not, because I had Neil Gaiman's permission, but not DC's, so it's kind of an interesting thing.
Don't look up Neil Gaiman. No, I know, don't worry.
Oh, I know, yeah, right. And now we shall speak no more of Neil Gaiman as he has been canceled. Thank you for the reminder.
Sorry.
The same guy, Baltasar Cardenas, he participates in like a lot of other things for Free Comic Book Day. This is one that they always do. The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, for some reason, are like huge in Mexico. They love the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, so they did like a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle bootleg. And one of the stories that was in there, Cardenas' original character, this guy here, his name's Lobo Blanco, the White Wolf, and he is a masked professional wrestler. And so here he is like crossing over with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. They're training, fighting each other. I thought that was pretty cool. I don't have that one yet. I'm gonna find it. So the doujinshi, that's usually exceedingly rare because they do small print runs. Creators do them for the love of the art form. They're not gonna make money on it, they're hard to find. But what if I were to tell you that there was a doujinshi here today at the Boise Comic Arts Festival?
Wow.
You wouldn't believe me. You'd say, liar!
One from me.
Yeah, let's go take it.
Nobody touched my books. Getting back on track. There it is.
I love it.
So to commemorate the presentation, I did about 20 copies of this. It's Machine Man versus Krypto, DC versus Marvel. This is coming out about less than a month in Krypto's first intercompany crossover event. He's going to have a backup story in Deadpool and Batman #1. It's coming out September 17th. This is cool. Oh, so this is what's coming out December 17th. This is the main cover, and this is one of the alt covers. So it's going to be Krypto and Jeff the Land Shark from Marvel Comics. So it has a 6-page doujinshi with Machine Man and Krypto. I've got original story for Justice Guy in there and a couple other short stories. And if you like this presentation, there's an article based on all the stuff that I just talked about today. It also has an article about some never seen before, never before published artwork by Dave Stevens, who used to live here in Boise, and he's the creator of The Rocketeer. And then there's also a letter from Steve Ditko that he wrote to me. I wrote to him, he wrote me back, and I put it in there to preserve for the sake of posterity. And that's my presentation. I know there's a lot of great stuff out here, so I just want to say thank you for coming. It's like I'm glad that there was such a great turnout. Does anybody have any questions about anything we went over today? If you want, if you're very gentle, you can come up and have a look at some of these books. I'll be happy to show them to you. Oh, the court recognizes Memo Pagoda at Boise State University.
I was going to be out of it. How long has Idaho Comics been around?
We did our first book in 2013, Tarzan and the Comics of Idaho. I hasten to add, the Tarzan book is not a doujinshi. That was an officially licensed comic book from the Agri Rice Burroughs estate. The thing that we're doing today is like a big departure from what we've done in the past. Before we followed the law, and today we're rebels.
Yeah.
Very cool. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
Is it time traveling caveman in Idaho comic? Because I know in one of the parts of Idaho there's like a huge like monument of it to like the 1960s, 50s.
I'm gonna have to look that up. I've never heard that before. Can you see that into the microphone?
Like,
Across it?
oh,
Can you? I'm
one of the rando Idaho cities that I can't pronounce has a giant statue called like the time traveling caveman. It's like a caveman riding like on a dinosaur, and I think it was based off a comic strip from like the somewhere like the 40s or 60s. And I guess it had some relation to Idaho. It was actually on KTVB. I was surprised, like Saturday morning, 7 a.m. That's probably why no one watched it, but I was up at that hour for some reason.
That's a good question. I'm gonna have to check that out. I'm gonna have to look. I do know that this is a weird sort of Idaho story. There was a very famous comic strip like from the 40s to the 60s called Steve Canyon, and he was like an Air Force pilot. And there is a town it's called Idaho Falls, Colorado. It's actually in Colorado instead of Idaho. And they had like a canyon over there, and they had like a different name before, and then whoever was in government, local government over there at the time, really liked the comic strip, and they were like, hey, let's rename the canyon Steve Canyon. So they did, and then they do have a statue of Steve Canyon, the comic strip character, like in their town. And that's kind of the weird thing, like that type of comic strip and comic strips in general kind of like slowly dying out. So like people are like, who is Steve Canyon? But probably a lot of people are like, that was a real person that found, I don't know, how to make corn yellow. I don't know, something. You know, like, why see a statue? It's a comic strip character. But I'm glad you brought that up. I'm gonna see if I can find out. Hopefully there is a connection. I'd love to see. Oh, yeah.
Mine's a comment on that. I was looking it up because I was also curious. It's Shoshone Ice Caves, if you're going to look it up later.
Okay, thank you. Shoshone, yes.
So, doujinshi exists in this sort of quasi-illegal state of, it's chill so long as you don't do very much of it, because otherwise we'll crack down on you. But a lot of artists right now are fighting for stronger IP laws to hopefully protect against stuff like AI, but
Right.
a lot of bigger companies are hoping to exploit that for. Are you worried about like IP laws changing and sort of crackdowns on doujinshi kind of killing the art form? Is that something that you
Wow, I
think
wasn't
about?
expecting such a good question.
Sorry.
I should, first of all, I should say, I hate AI.
Oh, yeah.
That's kind of the subject of my Justice Guy story in my illegal doujinshi. But yeah, it's upsetting to see, you know, because it's like it's such a horrible thing. It's like, you know, it's good for our souls to do art. I genuinely believe that, you know, any sort of writing, any sort of music, painting, art, whatever it is, I think it's genuinely good for your soul. And it's kind of sickening to see this algorithm kind of come in and like steal from like real artists, you know, but then it's like, it's terrible crap, and like their hands are all messed up, and it's like, I mean, it isn't concerned. I don't think it's ever going to get to the point where, I hope it doesn't ever get to the point where it's going to, you know, for example, steal jobs from real artists. I think that it can be one of those things where like, hey, we can kind of like copy this poster or this cover or something, and it's still not going to be as good. But I mean, it'll never be able to capture that human essence of like the creative process and like how you frame and like how you build the story. And I don't think that's something that they can do. So I am concerned about it, but like I guess optimistically, hopefully not too worried, because they'll never be able to do what a human being can do. I got off my soapbox. Okay, are there any other questions? Okay, well thank you for coming. Seriously, I do, if you guys want to, I really would like to share these with you, to come up and kind of look at them and stuff. I think they're really cool. So, that's my presentation. Thank you.